So this week, I am super excited to have the wonderful Brigit Esselmont, who you may know more as Biddy Tarot, on the show to talk about astrology, moonology, tarot, and her new special subject, intuitive manifesting. So welcome to the show, Brigit.
Thank you for having me. It's awesome to be back.
Yeah, it's lovely to have you back. So we're going to talk about your book in a minute, but just hold it up for everyone to see as a little taster. We are going to talk about this, and oh, beautiful, looks absolutely lovely, and that's coming out this week with Hachette, correct?
That's right.
And you're
Yes.
doing a book launch in LA, so we'll give people all the details of that at the end of the show. But let's do what we always do and launch into the podcast talking about the astrology for the week ahead.
What's in the stars?
And what I thought we could do, since we have you here, Brigit, we could actually do some cards for what people need to know, to work with particular energies. And the energy that sort of jumped out at me as we began is the fact that on October 22, we have the sun squaring Pluto. Now, that's a really intense energy that's going to have a big influence on this week. And then we're actually going to have Venus squaring Saturn as well. So what I thought we might do is maybe do a card, or I don't know how you do it. Would you do a card, a one card for how to manage that, or how to get through it, or best advice? Do you do a bit of tarot sometimes for the week ahead? And you might go, oh, there's a
Yeah.
new moon. What do I need to know? Pull some cards. How does it work for you, Brigit? Tell us.
Yeah, of course. I use it in so many different ways. So let's just jump in and do it. Tell me, but before we do, actually, tell me, so it was a sun, because I'm not great with astrology, a sun square Pluto, was it? What does that
Yes.
mean?
Well, really, the first idea that springs to mind is power struggles.
Ooh.
People at loggerheads. I want this, I want that, and who's going to get their way? Or how do I get around that person so that we can create a win-win situation, so that everybody, even if nobody's 100% happy, people are marginally happy.
Yeah, awesome. So interesting. Well, the card that I pulled for this week in that kind of energy is actually the Knight of Wands. And I think what's really neat is any of the court cards is kind of like what aspect of our personality we want to bring in. And so I'm kind of feeling that if you are facing a bit of a power struggle, this is a good way of navigating your way through it because there's something really nice about a Knight of Wands. He is impassioned, he's inspired, he's motivated, he's on a mission. It's almost like he doesn't allow all of the noise, all the like everyone bickering or getting all egoic. He's like, I've got something to do here and I'm going to get out in there, I'm going to do it. So I think that's a great sign just to stay focused on what it is that is really lighting you up now and stay on mission. Don't let all of the other noise kind of get in the way.
I love that. And so if someone's kind of pushing you into a corner, which is a bit sort of Sun square Pluto, or trying to engage you, how does that manifest then? Does that manifest, don't pay attention to the noise, but is there an element of keep your good humor about you? Because he sounds like a fairly cheerful chap, this Knight of Wands.
Yeah. I feel like that light-heartedness and letting things just kind of brush off you. Again, like there's so much of this like movement and momentum that is with that Knight of Wands. He's really not getting bogged down by other people's stuff that's coming up. And he's not letting
Right.
them project it onto him either. He's got that
Yeah.
armor on, which is like, don't mess with me. I'm on
Yeah.
my journey.
Okay, brilliant. I love that. Okay, so there are really only two difficult aspects this week, and I think it's really helpful to people if we look at both of them because the easy aspects are much, much easier to traverse. So let's now look at the other difficult aspect for this week, which is Venus, the planet of romance and riches, clashing with Sirius, nasty, tyrannical Saturn. So What do you get for that? I'm curious to know. And let me just say, if you're listening to the podcast and you're going through a tough time in your relationships, for example, or you're having a tough time with money, then this Venus square Saturn is probably going to speak to you. So this card is probably going to be for you. And maybe we should say, because I always say to people, say it out loud or write it in the comments, whatever, this card is for me. Before this card is drawn, for the Venus Saturn alignment this week, is this card for you? What did you do one yet, Brigit?
Yes, so it's so interesting because we just had the Knight of Wands, right?
Yeah.
And now we've got the Page of Wands reversed.
Ooh.
So in tarot, that's the card that comes right before the Knight. And it's almost like it kind of stepping back a little bit or regressing in a way. For me, this card shows up when sometimes you're a little bit off track. You think you're heading off in a direction, but then you realize, probably heading down the wrong path. So I'm assuming that if you're experiencing some of that drama in relationships, just have that moment to check in and go, have I just tried to stretch this out in a way that's actually not really what I want for this relationship? You know how sometimes we like get on the backs of our partners about something and then you realize it's not even that important to me. Why am I making a big deal out of it? And so I think, yeah, just that reminder to stay focused on what feels in alignment versus when am I starting to get a bit off track and off that alignment space.
Right. Amazing. I love that. Okay. So in fact, it's sort of like, just to make sure I've completely understood it. So it's a bit like if you're experiencing relationship issues this week, just check in and make sure that you're not the problem almost.
Yes. And are you trying to like push an agenda that actually isn't really important to you in the first place? When sometimes we're trying to make a big deal of something or we're trying to move it in a direction, then we go, hang on, that's not even what I really want here. So it's kind of like come back to the drawing board. What is your true intention? What is it that you want to create and develop in this relationship that feels juicy, that feels inspiring? And then get back to that core and then start again, start in a new direction.
And Venus Saturn can translate as well as issues around cash, around money. So can we take a little look about, you want to do another card or you can do the same card?
Yeah.
Okay,
This one's
money card. Oh,
So I've got the world reversed. Now, normally when we see the world upright, it's about completion of a cycle. And so reverse, sometimes it can point to something that's incomplete. So there might be something around your money or your finances this week that needs closure, needs tidying up. I think of like, even the old bank accounts that you haven't closed down that have got like 1 cent left in them. Just sometimes clearing up those loose ends can really help so that you're then more ready to step through this wreath and go, all right, I'm complete with that phase. Now I'm stepping into something new. So if you want to welcome in more abundance, more opportunity, what is it that needs closure? What needs completion at this point so that you can keep moving forward?
And what about paying off debts? Would that count as closure?
Yeah, for sure. Anything that just makes you feel like, oh, good, that one's done, right? Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Well, that's fantastic. Thank you, Brigit. So now we are going to take a look at the Moonology for the week ahead, and we're going to do a card for that as well.
Where's the moon?
All right. Okay. So as you probably know, Brigit, I'm all about Moonology. We do astrology as well because obviously it's really interesting and it's like the big picture of the energies. But this week, actually, we are just before the new moon. And we're going to have I think we're going to have the quarter moon. So I thought what we could do is the quarter moon before the new moon is always a time to really try and deal with any leftover stuff that needs to be dealt with, released, any negativity, released, let go. Because then when we get to the new moon, that's when we do manifesting, which is obviously a subject close to your heart at the moment with your new book. So if we have a look here, we have the last quarter moon taking place in the sign of Leo. So it can be a bit of pride, don't really want to let this stuff go yet, but I know I should, because ultimately if we let SHIT go at the quarter moon, then we become a more powerful manifester at the new moon. So shall we do a card for this quarter moon, and this quarter moon in Leo, where some people might be feeling a bit prideful? Oh, what have we got? The King of Swords. Okay, tell us. How do you
Yes.
see that?
So interesting that we're talking about kind of pride and ego, because I would say the King of Swords is definitely one of those people who
Right.
likes to think I'm right all of the time, and has a very strong and set viewpoint on the world. And what I was asking when I pulled this card was like, what is it that we need to release in this phase? And I feel like it's some of that rigidity. It's some of that needing to always be in control, to always be sitting on that throne like this king and, in charge of everything. And I think there's this opportunity for more fluidity, more flexibility. Like, where in your life are you becoming so rigid that, oh, things have to be done this way? Or we get kind of like antsy about things, or even a little bit anxious, or quite overbearing, authoritarian, and can
Yeah.
be quite hard for the people who are around us when we're in this phase of being very set in our ways. So just a really great opportunity here to think about, what is it that you could loosen up about your mindset and your thoughts? What could you become more flexible to, or more adaptable to?
Right. And it's so interesting that that's what you got, because in astrology, so for a start, the quarter moon in Leo, the last quarter moon in Leo takes place when the moon is in Leo and the sun is in Scorpio. And they are both fixed signs. So there is really an element of two energies that are really stuck together and fixed. And yeah, and that's so interesting. It came up for you like that. All right. So
Mm.
before we are going to do a reader question, which I'm really excited about. But before we do that, I thought it might be a good moment now to talk about your new book, because I feel like, for one thing, I feel like the cards today kind of being quite bossy and telling us what to do, which is very interesting. But then let's just see your book. Let's hold it up for the
It's
camera
just tucked
again.
under all these beautiful cards we've just been drawing. But yes, here
All
is
right, there
intuitive.
it is. Intuitive manifesting, align with your inner wisdom and attract your dream life. So tell us about the book, and tell us about how we can use the methods in the book this week, bearing in mind we've got, a few bit of a power struggle, people feeling maybe a bit rejected or lonely, and then, trying to let go of the CRAP. How does intuitive manifesting play into that? And actually, I'll ask you as well, given that you're so well known for tarot, why do we not have the word tarot in there? Is this book not about tarot, or is there tarot in secret?
Yeah. Well, it is and it isn't about tarot. So I've been manifesting all throughout my life, and I used to really manifest from that more like that goal-oriented way of doing things. Like, set the goal, work really hard, make sure you get to the goal, and hope for the best. But I found that, like, over time, that really didn't always work. In fact, actually, funny we've got the King of Swords, because I kind of got to that place of becoming so rigid in my goal achievement. It was like, oh, everything must be linear and I must get to it. But I realized that actually wasn't working all of the time. And so when I started to really flow more with my manifesting, I realized that there was another whole layer that I was using, and that was my intuition. And so for me, intuitive manifesting goes beyond a lot of these traditional manifesting methods, which are often just very goal oriented, they're hustle and grind, or on the flip side, it's all about like wishful thinking and just waiting for things to happen. But intuitive manifesting is really focused on how we can co-create with the universe, how we can flow with the energy, just like the lunar cycles, and how we can work with those. But also using intuitive tools like my favorite, the tarot cards, to really get deep into what is it that we truly desire? How is that in alignment with our highest good? How do we start to access those limiting beliefs and those blocks that are getting in the way, and then start to free them up? Because so much of this, like, we can think about it, right? We can use our conscious minds, but so much of manifesting actually relies on our subconscious and our intuition to be working with us through that process. So that's really what intuitive manifesting is in a very tiny nutshell. But it's really, yeah, tapping into this new layer that really supports the manifesting journey in a way that is more fluid and more flexible, and therefore also just really amplifies your results. And so, you know, as we come into like this particular week, we've got some challenges that are coming up around relationships and money and, you know, kind of getting stuck in our ways. One thing that I think is really powerful is when we actually, instead of focusing on all of the things that we need to do to get to our goal, it's actually focusing on who do we need to be first. So instead of doing first, we actually focus on the being first. So
Yeah.
what do I mean by that? That is, how do we step into that future version of ourselves, that version that's already achieved everything that we desire, and how do we become that now? So if you are facing like relationship challenges, well, who is it that you want to be in your relationships?
Yeah.
Maybe it's someone who's powerful, who's courageous. Maybe it's someone who's loving, who's compassionate. Instead of getting caught up in what you're facing day to day, like start the day from a place of like, okay, how can I step into this place of love and compassion? How can I be that person now? And then all of the actions start to flow from that place.
Yeah.
And, you know, just to like weave in a little bit of the tarot as well, because why not? What I love doing is then finding a tarot card in the deck that represents, maybe it's the love and compassion. So maybe it's the Two of Cups or the Lover's card. And then working with that card, embodying it, bringing it into your daily space, and then using that as the inspiration to step into this future self and this being state.
Amazing. I absolutely love that. I'm getting the urge to ask you just to read like 2 or 3 sentences. Open the book randomly and let's see what we get.
Okay, all right, here we go. What do we? Do you know what's funny? I need my glasses. That's all good. Okay, I'll hold it very far away from
All
me.
right.
Okay, fantastic. Oh, well, here we go, because we've arrived at the heart of our transformative adventure. Here is where we roll up our sleeves and get our hands dirty in the magical soil of co-creation with the universe. We're moving from the what of intuitive manifestation to the how, from floating ideas to feet on the ground action. And in the chapters to come, I'm going to teach you the 4-step intuitive manifesting method, which will be a game changer in how you approach manifesting your dreams. And so then I just go on to start talking about these beautiful 4 steps that are all inside of the intuitive
Right. Well, if
manifesting.
that doesn't make you want to read the book, I don't know what will, because that sounds amazing. Okay, so yeah, so the book's out this week. You can get it at Amazon, correct?
Yes,
And
yes.
highly exciting and very much looking forward to it. Okay, thank you so much, Brigit. We're now going to move on to answering a question for one of our listeners. So here we go.
Your questions answered.
All right, so Brigit, someone is about to get very lucky because you're one of the foremost tarot readers in the world, I would say, along with my lovely friend Radley Valentine. You and he have got the tarot market sewn up, at least for me. So I thought what we would do is we'd go, I recently put something on my Facebook page asking people for questions. This is for you, Darlene Aligned Redmond. Darlene Aligned Redmond is how she's put her name there. And she's actually asked 2 questions, which are kind of part of the same thing. So I'll read them both to you. And before I do that, I just want to say, anybody else who's listening to this and who has the similar question, you can just say silently or out loud or put it in the comments, is this card for you too? Because you don't know what it is. And, you know, maybe it's for you as well, but it's definitely for you, Darlene Aligned Redmond. So Darlene's questions are, what is my unique way to attract clients? And is there a way to find out more about my money challenges, especially related to business? So what is my unique way to attract clients? And is there a way, to find out more about money challenges, especially related to business? And just looking at Darlene's Facebook page, it appears that she runs a business called The Aligned Path, and she's in Australia. So, Darlene Redmond, this is for you. All right.
Awesome. What great questions too. What like really empowered types of
Yes.
questions. So just
Yes.
really want to acknowledge that.
Yes.
So I think the first question was how can I attract more clients, basically.
Yes.
And the card that I've pulled here is the Emperor. Now,
Mm.
I know some people like look at the Emperor and go, "Oh no, that's not really the card I wanted." But what
Because
this tells me is that it can come down to structure and discipline. And I know sometimes this can be frustrating when you're like, yeah, but I want to be in the divine feminine, in the flow. But
yeah.
this guy is actually saying, you know what? It might actually help you right now to have some systems in place. I think with my business brain, I think, get the email, the subscribers up and going, the email system, the funnels, have the lead magnet, but
Yeah.
also have like a process so that if you do have someone who is interested in what you've got to offer, how do you move them through a certain process to welcome them in and then hopefully become a client. So I'd be looking very much at what's the structure, the infrastructure, the systems, the processes that you have in place. And then also the other piece with the Emperor, very similar to like the King of Swords, but in a positive way. He owns his throne, right? He is in this state of power and self-assertiveness, confidence. So how can you show up to your clients from more of this like divine masculine energy of like, yeah, I know what I'm talking about. I'm like, I'm the authority here. This is good. So neat little messages there in the Emperor card.
Love that.
And then the next one was the money issues, right? What are some of the limiting beliefs that are coming up around money or the blocks? Is that
Yes.
right?
Or the question exactly was, is there a way to find out more about my money challenges, especially related to business? So, and again, if this card's for you, hopefully you've already said it because we can see the card.
Awesome. All right, so here we have the Nine of Wands, and you might notice this guy, he's got some bandages on. He's holding a wand, but he's a little bit unsure. He's kind of looking over his shoulder. There's all these wands behind him. And so this can sometimes come up when we're feeling a little bit threatened or we're in that more defensive position. And so when it comes to things around money or beliefs around money or any blocks around money, sometimes it can feel like maybe you're focusing more on all of the things that are stacking up. So maybe there's a lot of debt, credit card debt. Maybe there's a lot of committed cost in the business. Maybe, you've got like 100 different subscriptions to all these different softwares, right? And it could be time to actually just do a bit of a cleanup and release some of that pressure that's on you in order to make the money. Because I think that's one of the tricky things with business is when our costs start to, increase, then also this pressure to increase the income increases as well. But then that can create this state of kind of like, oh my gosh, I've just got to find the next dollar. I've got to get the next client. And that's not the energy we actually want to bring into the business. We want to bring that like loving, service oriented energy. But what's happening is we're getting so worried about the day-to-day operations and the, commitments and so on. So have a look at, is there a way to relieve some of that pressure so that you can focus on the things that really, matter to you? So two
Right.
really interesting
Amazing.
cards there.
And Brigit, I can't help but ask, just because, I mean, obviously I know nothing about tarot compared to you, but with that second card, with the Nine of Wands, with the second card, is there a sense that you've been through the wars
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
but you're still standing?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's what I feel
absolutely.
when I look at that card, because I feel like, and maybe with Darlene, maybe she has been through the wars and she's still standing. Is there an element of that in that card? Because I know a lot of readers will say sort of, what do you think? So I'm just running it past the expert.
Yeah, no, and this is the thing, I think, and this is for you, but also for everyone that's watching this. If you see something in this card that maybe I haven't spoken to, or it's a little bit different to what I've said, you are right. Like, this is actually the thing, like, this is working well, because our intuition is going to lead us to things on this card that's important for you in that moment. So, yeah, I love this idea of kind of like you've been through the wars. And the thing is, it's a nine, which is just before a 10 at the completion of the cycle, right?
Right.
And that 9 is very much like, oh, you're so close. You've just got to get a few more steps through and you'll
Right.
reach
Yes.
that finish line or the end of this particular phase that you're in. So, it can be a sign of just that resilience, like keep going. You've got this. You're almost there.
Okay. Amazing. All right, so normally we would end with a card for the week, but I think we've done enough cards for the week. So let's end, Brigit, by letting people know where they can find you.
Yeah, awesome. You'll find me over at biddytarot.com. And also, if you want to learn more about intuitive manifesting and then the 4 steps of intuitive manifesting, I've got a free
We all want
guide.
to know more. We want to know those 4 steps. You've opened the loop.
Awesome. Yes. So I have a free guide on these 4 steps. You can get it over at biddytarot.com/4 steps. Nice and easy,
Excellent.
right? And just download that guide and you can start to learn more about how you can put this into practice and even, how you can start using the tarot cards with your manifestation practice as well.
Amazing. Brigit, always a pleasure. Let's not leave it till your next book comes out to have you back on, because I really enjoyed that. And I think it's so fun doing the cards with you for the energies of the week ahead as well. So thank you for being here.
Oh, my pleasure. And it's always fun to learn more about, what's happening with the stars as well. So thank you.
Yeah. So next time we've come this week. It's been very much about letting go. Next time we'll do something in the waxing cycle. So it's about how to go for it and incorporate the tarot. So everyone, that is biddytarot.com, BIDDY tarot, TRAOT.com. Thank you, Brigit.
Awesome. Thank you. Bye for now.